just the discussion between me and Hannah about this project. We have some questions that we wrote. They're not even questions, they're talking points. Yeah. So, Hannah, how did we meet?
I think you tell the story best, but I can start us off. Yeah, we met in BSF, which is Bible Study Fellowship. We were in the young people's class,
Yeah.
which was interesting. But it was fun. I had a good time. I think you and I were the ones who talked the most, but
yeah, probably.
In the group. But I think we instantly had a connection when we saw each other.
Yeah.
And like afterwards, you were like, "Hey, I want to get to know you."
Yes.
Yeah, and you actually said, "Hey, let's go grab coffee now."
Yeah, I did. It was only like
at what was it, 9 o'clock at night?
9. I was like, let's do it. I was still like college mentality. I was like, everyone is gonna be up until like late, like I am. But
No.
I remember another thing because you taught English in Korea for a bit, and I had my English Korean Bible, and I think either during or afterwards you were like, is that in Korean? And I was like, yeah. And you were like, oh, I know some Korean. I was like, oh. But yeah, I mean, the long story short is essentially like I went to BSF for the first time because my mom had been going, and I saw Hannah and I was like, she seems like a cool person. So I pretty much like, as soon as everyone left the large group, I found her in the parking lot, and I was like, we should be friends. Let's get coffee. Yeah. I was just like, she seems like a cool person, and like, especially when you're not in school, I feel like if there's cool people, you really have to like go out of your way. Yeah. So yeah, we had coffee the day after.
We did.
Not that night. I think even Hannah, you were kind of like, it's late, and I was like, yeah.
You were very excited. I appreciated that. I appreciated your excitement. And I also, like, in the group, I think what drew me to you as well was there was an instrument or something, either drums or piano in the room. Oh, and you pointed it out, and I was like, okay, she's a musician. I need to get to know her.
I did do that. Yeah. And then I think it was really impressive, like, that you you'd only been in Peoria like not even a week by then, right? Like you just moved to Peoria. And so I remember like when we had coffee the next day, I was like, so how long have you been here? And you're just like, a week, I think by now. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay. So
we usually look for BSF classes before we even look for like our church.
Oh, okay.
And we make sure we're moving somewhere that's not too far from BSF classes. So that was one of the first things we looked for when we were moving to Peoria.
Nice. And then I remember like we had like a 2 or 3 hour discussion at Starbucks about like
everything.
Like, great. And then I think by the end of that, so like the timeline was super fast. So it's like, okay, we're gonna be friends and we're gonna go have coffee. And then after the coffee, at the end of coffee, we're like, okay, now we have to do something together. And then I think after that, we immediately scheduled like, okay, bring like your guitar or whatever, and let's just like try to make something. And that was that.
Yeah. The rest is history.
Yeah, pretty much.
No. Yeah, I definitely from the get-go appreciated your enthusiasm, because sometimes I'm too intense I'm like, especially something that I'm passionate about. Like if I'm not passionate about it, I'm really quiet, I'm introverted. But if it's something that I love, like Jesus and music about Jesus, like I'm often overly excited.
Yeah.
So, but you matched me. Like it was like, okay, we're together in this.
We can do this. Yeah. I think it was I remember like, cause we started talking, obviously there was like music and like faith, but then I think even the writing stuff, cause you said you did spoken word, and I was like, I've always wanted to do spoken word. And so, it was like a really cool like match on like several different levels of interest. So It was very like easy almost to just be like, hey, we should collab. Okay. That was the whole discussion.
That's
like,
how it happened, actually.
When are you free? Oh, I'm free this time. So yes.
So why red?
Yeah. I think you actually, maybe you were the one who came up because you were like, oh, like red, like the Scarlet Letter and like that concept. And then we were also talking about like the Red Sea and then red. I think it just I think someone started with some concept of red, and considering that we were talking about like the people of the promised land, we're just like, what are all the red things? And then kind of like went from there. Although like the idea didn't completely stick, it like gave us it was like our springboard, I would say.
Yeah. I would agree. Like originally, like letters was red letters, and then David Crowder came up with a song called Red Letters, and we're like, okay, I don't know. But we kept it because I think just the feeling of it.
Yeah.
The feeling of it.
I just love like letters and writing letters in general. So I was like, okay, I'll let you have red letters, but I'm gonna keep the letters. So yeah. And then the theme of red kind of didn't stick after that, but it got us going. So
it did. Like I think the springboard is a perfect description.
Well, no, I mean, even looking at the next thing when we start talking like behind each song, it did kind of help for like hues, because then it's like, oh, different shades or different ingredients of like a concept. So it did help in that direction, but then I think it was more like a springboard instead of like we have to stick to this theme. So yeah. So Hannah, you were well, Hannah was the producer and the one who spent a lot of time with these tracks. So my perspective is kind of like on the lyrics and kind of how some of these songs came together, but Hannah will also be talking about all the nitty-gritty details. So how did Hues come to be, which is like a super cool track, by the way.
No, I'm excited about it. It was, I don't even remember fully how it happened. I was just experimenting with like the loops that came with the DAW that I was using with Studio One. I'm such a new producer, and I'm learning so much as I go. I'm an experiential learner, so I think this process helped me to learn. Okay, what does it look like to put together two different things and kind of try to match them in a way that they don't clash, in a way that they enhance each other, like, and just experimenting. Hues is an experiment.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a major experiment. So, but I think, did the lyrics come first, or did the concept come first, or did the track come first?
I kind of think, from my memory, I think it was kind of concept, because there's some really cool, so I listen to a lot of K-pop and Korean music in general, and some really cool album intros that took the same concept where like the whole album would be finished, all the stems and whatnot would be done, and then the producer would take snippets from each song and sometimes each melody and just kind of like throw it into like this massive blender and make this really cool like immersive intro track that was mostly instrumental but had like teaser bits of other songs. And so I think I kind of sent that to you, and I was like, this could be cool to play with because we've already finished these other songs. We know like what they're doing. So, and then I think from there, kind of combined with your like experimenting and producing, it was like a kind of like meeting in the middle from what I know.
So there are little snippets of the songs in Hues. So that first track actually was produced after all the other tracks. But I think we also tried to pull out like what is the main message of this project, and we came up with those two words, breathe and speak, and that kind of drove the creation of the track,
which we'll touch on again when we get to the last track, because we really like more explicitly dig into those concepts in the last track. But so then we moved from this like kind of murky, mysterious thing that gives us teasers, and then we go straight into this narrative song called Scarlett, which is great, and it's very like, you can tell someone who's a writer wrote it. The lyrics are very narrative. So Scarlett, tell us a bit about Scarlett.
Yeah, so we were studying People of the Promised Land in Bible Study Fellowship, and Scarlett came from the story of Rahab. It's the story of a woman who is making a choice whether or not to stay with her old way of life, which kind of has destroyed her life in a way, or choosing a new way, choosing a new path in life. And I think it also tells my story a little bit, well, a lot actually. I think my story is in there. And it's a story of destruction, but within that destruction there comes renewal, and just like a new adventure that comes from the ending of something else.
It is a long song, but because of the narrative nature of it and how the song moves, it kind of needed every bit in it, And I love what you said here, like that's the beauty of indie music, like you don't have to conform. Like if, at least for me, I feel like with the structure and the core of Scarlett, it had to be that long, to take you through the journey, and then, to kind of be at the end where you look back kind of the lyrics and you're like, oh, okay, we've really like traversed this length, and if it was short, it wouldn't have the same impact. So I think that was a good note that you added in there. It's true.
Yeah. And I also want to shout out my brother. Whenever I get stuck writing a song, I just bring it to my brothers and say, can you make this work? And they usually do. Like they usually have so much to add to it because they're phenomenal musicians. But my brother Emmanuel Kamau actually arranged the piano that you hear in that song.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I do feel like, did I meet God with before or after I wrote letters? I don't remember, but there was one thing that one of Hannah's brothers said that I think now I'm slowly like moving out of that phase because it just like blew my mind. But he plays the ukulele really well, and he plays the ukulele in like the instrumental bit of letters. And I just remember, and he's really good at like the instrument and more than just chords. And I remember him saying like so casually, he's like, if you can play it on the ukulele, why don't you play it on the ukulele? And I don't know why that was so revolutionary for me, but I was like, you know what, you're right. Everything should be on the ukulele. Everything. And so that, I kid you not, like shout out, because that literally after that point, almost for like a year, I was like, everything's gonna be on the ukulele. Why should it not? I'm slowly phasing out of that, but that was a big moment.
You stayed there for months.
Yeah. I remember every time I wrote a song on the ukulele, I would text Hannah and be like, shout out to your brother. I did it again.
Yes. So thank you, Godwin.
Thank you, Godwin. But okay, so besides the fact that it's on the ukulele, it started a whole phase in my writing. Well, actually, no, this is related with writing because I love writing mail. I'll just kind of sporadically send out mail to my friends and just say like, check out the mailbox. And I remember there was this book that was saying that like, the Bible is like love letters. It's like a collection of love letters. And that was super interesting to me because I love writing letters to people. And so if I remember correctly, I think the first version of this was just the chorus, which is just like a list of things that God like says to us. And then I kind of expanded it. I was like, okay, well then why not just write it like it's a letter, that God is writing to us. But I think one thing that was interesting about this song is I first hesitated like leaning into the brighter sound of the song because I wasn't feeling it kind of. I was like, I don't think like it doesn't match. But then I think I kind of not necessarily let it happen, but I kind of became more comfortable with it. And then I think I kind of evened it out by having lyrics, especially like in the bridge, that, you know, show that it's not just like all happy, you know, like you're not just gonna be reading the Bible and it's all great, you know, like kind of showing these hints of not necessarily darker content, but like, you know, there is struggle there too, and that's fine. And so I tried to balance it that way, so it wouldn't, because I didn't want it to be just like saccharine, like just sweet, like that didn't sit well with me, because life isn't always just like you know. So I wanted it to be balanced in some way.
I love you even when you don't believe it, but I still do. No matter what you do, my thoughts won't change towards you, 'cause I love you very much, you are so cherished. And through all this mess, I loved you in and through it. I'm singing over you, even when you can't hear it. La 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 la. Each and every day, I wanna show you all of the ways that I adore you. My child, please know I love you dearly. Oh, my child, please know I love you dearly.